with.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Midcard. Today is July 27th, 2024. I am your host, Bams. Here's my co-host, Joey Wrestling. Joey, what's going on?
Not much, man. Yourself?
Not much at all, dude. A lot going on in the world of professional wrestling. Well, kind of.
Sorta, a little, kinda, not really.
Oh no, is my internet going crazy? Yeah. It's kind of
It's
slow. It's building up towards SummerSlam though, so I mean, to be expected. And I mean, this is I feel like this is the time of year where WWE really they're going to put out a great SummerSlam. We know that SummerSlam is then going to build up and lead us right into Survivor Series. So something big will happen on SummerSlam, but they're not going to ruin it before SummerSlam. So I think they're kind of playing a little close to the vest.
oh, definitely. I mean, I think they're also. I liked Raw. SmackDown was a little stale. I think they're playing it a little soft as we head into next week. But I do think, like you said, there are some big things I think that we can expect coming into or leaving SummerSlam after next week.
Yeah, I think so too. The closer we get, I feel like we're getting Roman
Yeah, so do I.
Reigns back.
Are you still there? Your internet just crashed pretty
My
heavily,
internet.
slowed down. I can hear you. Oh, there you go. Well,
Yeah.
I'll say, there we go. Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Here we go. I think I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. My internet's a little choppy today. Oh no. All right. I think I'm back now. I just I cut off a couple of the things that were tied to the internet. So, anyway. Oh no.
Well, I will say, in an effort to fill a little
Usually
bit
I
of
don't
time,
have
I
any
do
internet
think
problems. Today is
you must not like the Saturday morning.
I love the Saturday morning mid card.
So
I
do
love
I.
the idea.
So do I.
I uh I I think this is going to be our new time slot. I think we were both talking about this. I feel like this is the way to go.
Yeah. I think the morning works out a little bit better, and and it lets us get through the SmackDown on Saturday night. Gets a good preview before any PLEs that show up on Saturday nights now. So definitely good timing.
Right. I feel like it's the best of both worlds here, man. We get to review the whole week, and like you said, if there's a PLE coming on at night, we get to preview it literally the day of. So there's no real surprises unless there is a surprise at the pay per view. So I like
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
idea. Joey, what do you think? You think we're getting Roman Reigns? You think Roman Reigns is coming
Oh,
back?
I think 100% Roman's coming back. I mean, for one, it's been what are we? We're gonna be in August. It's been almost 5 months since he's been back, since he's been in the ring. I know that the show or the movie he was filming that's wrapped up. And I mean, Solo Sikoa. I mean, we'll kind of get into it a little bit later, but Solo did call out Roman Reigns on SmackDown. So I think that's a pretty big red herring that we're going to see Roman back in his WWE ring.
I think so too, man. I'm really going to be interested to see how this whole bloodline thing plays out. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do it, but man, Roman's going to be pissed with the way they've treated everybody, I think.
Oh yeah, because they're making more of like a mockery of
Can you
of kind of the bloodline in a sense. Yeah, you're a little bit delayed, so it's gonna be that's gonna be a little fun. But yeah, he's kind of making a mockery of what Roman built as the bloodline, as their stable, with kind of the way he's treated Paul Heyman, the way that they've kind of gone about getting into everyone else's business. He's not gonna like that Solo's calling himself the head of the table. He's gonna take
Nope.
offense to that, And like I said, I think that it's all going to lead to obviously finding out that The Rock has been pulling the strings of this new bloodline faction and will eventually lead to the reformation of the original bloodline. Maybe even
See
bringing
that
back Rikishi.
that would be amazing to have The Rock pulling the strings. But I don't know if you remember right before he left, before Roman went out, because obviously he knew he was going to be taking some time off. He did say that Solo is going to be the head of the table, and he's going to be leading the bloodline. I just don't think. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they play. Like who's like making all these decisions to be so ruthless, like they are, because they are just
Exactly.
brutal.
Yeah.
Like that,
And
it's
that wasn't Roman's style.
no, it wasn't, which is surprising. But it's we're getting a babyface Roman when he comes back.
Oh
That's
yeah.
obvious. Like I
Yeah.
feel like no matter what they do, Roman's going to be too over. Everybody misses him, uh, and it'll be fun to see him versus Solo. And then I think, like you said, I think The Rock is going to be playing a significant part. Do you think we get The Rock at SummerSlam?
That's possible. That's possible, but I think that might be burning that candle a little too early. I think we might see him in the lead up to Survivor Series if we do a Survivor Series that's like a Bloodline Civil War, because I do think that would be a great Survivor Series match instead of the typical Raw versus SmackDown you can get, or you could still do that, but you could do a Bloodline War Games Survivor Series style elimination between the new Bloodline, the old Bloodline with somebody else or whatever, something along those lines. But I think that's where we see The Rock, not in a match, but at least make a return to aid the new bloodline.
I agree. That's the only reason I brought up the SummerSlam thing, because I feel like if they're gonna do the Bloodline versus Bloodline, like we both think that they're headed towards, I feel like it's gonna be a War Games match with The Rock heading out his side, and then Roman heading out the OG side with probably the Usos. I would guess. I would guess the Usos, him, maybe Sami Zayn, and
Possibly, they might re-enlist Sammy once he drops the Intercontinental Championship to move him out of that title scene and into another program.
I could also see Jacob Fatu turning on the new Bloodline to join Roman.
That's possible. I think somebody is going to flip, and it would make more sense for one of the actual brothers of Jimmy and Jay to flip to the
Right.
other side.
Right, and that's just my thoughts on it. You know what I mean? Like I'm a big Jacob Fatu guy. I think he's the real deal. That dude, man. He's so much fun to watch. He's agile. He's powerful. He's got the look. It's just I think he's like the whole package here. I don't believe in Solo. I don't think Solo's like the real deal. Like I think he's like a mid card guy, which is great, but I don't think he's like a main event guy. I think Jacob Fatu could be a main event guy.
Yeah, it has been a tough sell for Solo to be sold as like this top guy. The intensity's there, and he is a pretty good in ring performer, but he's not as like an imposing type of figure that you see with like Roman or you see with Jacob Fatu or
Right.
that you even see with some of the other top of the card guys. So it just becomes a little hard to believe in him as that role.
And I don't know what it is because Solo's not that much smaller than Fatu is, but between Fatu's like his energy, like his intensity, and I think his move set is more geared towards believing he's like a monster as opposed to
Mhm.
Solo. Solo's got the spike, but other than that, like he does the Samoan drop, he doesn't really do anything that like sets him apart.
Well, and even the spike I don't love as like a finishing move because it's just not. It's not like maybe this is me like needing to be entertained, but as a finisher, I need like I hate when like Alexa Bliss stopped doing the Twisted Bliss and was doing just like a spike DDT. Like I hate or like the Bailey to belly. I thought was a very boring
Yeah.
finisher. I need like some flash and some circumstance. Make a big deal about it. You know.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like I don't like the spike as a finisher. I think it's maybe in a tag team where you set somebody up like maybe a doomsday device and then he comes off the top rope and spikes them, or there's like
Yeah.
but it has to be paired with something because I just don't believe that the spike in 2024 is going to take anybody out, especially a top contender. I just don't see it.
Yeah, it's not one of those things like I feel like if someone spikes your windpipe, and like it's just not something that takes you down on the mat for 3 count,
No.
in my opinion. But he did pin Cody Rhodes with it, so we are supposed to believe that it's a devastating maneuver.
Which was a really risky move. I felt like having the champion get pinned clean like that.
Yeah, they're trying. They need to build up. They got to build up Solo though, so they were trying to get him some kind of stock to make it believable that he can potentially dethrone Cody Rhodes. And I honestly think what's going to happen at SummerSlam is that they're going to outnumber Cody so badly that he's going to be on the brink of losing the championship. And when everything looks so bleak, Roman's music is going to hit, and he's actually going to make the save for Cody, which will instantly give him that baby face. I don't want to say heat, but yeah, baby face heat,
Yeah.
and put him. You'll see him. You'll see what side he's exactly on. Because I think he ultimately would want a clean match with Cody to
Uh-huh.
really settle who is the better of the two, as opposed to sliding back into the bloodline and be. You know what I mean? Like that's I think where they would go with Roman Reigns.
I think at this point of that rivalry and like between the matches they've already had, I feel like it's almost like a necessity for them to do a clean finish of the next match between those two.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it would be the third match, right? The third, yeah, it would be number 3. So I think that's what's deserved, and I think that's what'll happen at some point, and that's kind of why when he does return at SummerSlam, he's going to be making the save for Cody to solidify his status as a face and not a heel.
And I'm not mad about that at all.
No,
Like I wouldn't
nope.
be mad.
I'm ready to cheer for Roman Reigns. I think it's going to be fun, and people are dying for him. So no matter, so you have to do it because you're not going to get, even if he acts like a heel, he's not going to get heel heat, and it would be a waste of an opportunity.
Right? No, you're absolutely right about that. There's no way that Roman. I can't say no way because Triple H can probably write anything, but it would be an uphill battle to have Roman come back and have him be a heel because nobody
Yep.
wants to boo Roman right now. It's just one of those
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
Like, and it's not like he's like in a position where he was before that he could be like a tweener where half the crowd wants to cheer him and half nobody wants to boo Roman right now. Like nobody, and that's including me. And I'm not a big Roman guy, but I feel like he deserves to be cheered. Like I feel
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. We didn't get that goodbye after he dropped the title to Cody, which we all knew he was going to do, and he didn't come on Raw the next night or anything like that, which I like because it gave Cody the shine. You know what I mean? He's
yep,
not overshadowing the title, but I
exactly.
feel like yeah, I think it's Cody's time. I mean, I think it's Roman's time to get the love from the WWE universe. I feel like it's
The smack, and it's gonna suck because it's gonna be SmackDown, so we're gonna have to wait a
yeah,
week until he's back. But the SmackDown after SummerSlam, if he comes back, he's gonna open the show. It's gonna be absolutely electric.
yes.
It's gonna be like when he beat the Undertaker to like retire the Undertaker when that happened, except the opposite, where he was booed so heavily he couldn't get a word in and just walked away. He's gonna be cheered so loudly that it's gonna bring the roof down.
It's going to be an awesome moment. Whenever he
Yeah,
returns, it will be an awesome moment for the WWE. And obviously, it won't hurt ratings because I think they need him right now. Because I feel like they're kind of lost with the bloodline and Cody, and like he's like kind of just meddling out there. He's not really going one direction or another here.
I think SmackDown needs this storyline.
Yeah.
Raw doesn't, and like I said, we'll get to it. I thought Raw was excellent this week, but SmackDown is missing something,
Mhm.
and I think it is a direction with the Bloodline storyline where it's not just the Bloodline running havoc on SmackDown trying to get in Cody's head and take the WWE Championship or destroy Cody. Like there needs to be something more to that now because it's getting a little stale. I mean, it's kind of been the
It's
story for the last couple months is Cody's been dealing with the bloodline, but also
right.
dealing with other challengers per se.
Right. There's no clear path for Cody right now. And it's
Yep.
been like that since Mania. And I feel like that's why the fans are starting to turn on him because I think it's tough for him to go in one direction or another and to gain any traction if there's not one constant face that he can. He's got the bloodline, like you said, but then he also had AJ Styles and like everybody else that's popping up. Like, let's get Cody in like a significant storyline that's just driving towards one person as opposed to a group of people.
So what I'd like to see, and I think is a possibility if Reigns comes back, is we're gonna get a Bloodline Civil War where Reigns is trying to
Yes.
kind of rein back control of the Bloodline, which does free up Cody Rhodes to a degree. I think they'll weave Cody into this story, but I really think going into like the latter half of the year and into Survivor Series, they might give us a Cody Rhodes Randy Orton feud because Randy's
Oh,
Randy's been eyeing the WWE Championship and has been telling him, "Hey, I've got your back," but and you see him side eyeing the championship and over his shoulder. You know what I mean? So I think that could be a possibility. It'd be a great shortish program to finish out the year, letting that seeing what that kind of story could do. Longtime
I would
friends, but at odds over a unified goal, if that makes sense.
I would love to see a Roman Reigns. I mean, not, jeez, man, I got Roman on the brain. Sorry. I would love to see Randy Orton versus Cody for the title and just like have them build that for like 3 or 4 months solid. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that would only help Cody's run. Like that would solidify. All right, this is a real challenger. Like we knew AJ Styles was a real challenger, but we don't really think he could get the title. I think there's a chance that Randy might get a title here.
Yeah, like it's believable with the type of star
Right.
that Randy Orton is that they might. I don't think they would. I don't think Randy's the guy that would end Cody's title reign. But it nobody thought Jinder Mahal was going to beat Randy Orton either. So like, there's always that
Bro,
little bit of doubt in the back of your mind. So
and the big thing that they still have in the back of everybody's mind is starting January, John Cena is going to be on that last run,
yep,
and we all want a John Cena Randy match for that title one more time. You know what I mean? So like, there is a possibility Randy could get it just to have that title match against John. I feel like John's getting the title in this run. I don't know if it's the Raw title or the SmackDown title, but I feel like he should get the title.
yeah, I agree. I just got thrown off because I'm pretty sure over my shoulder I'm seeing Cameron Grimes wrestle Jay Uso and the boss, a big boss man, and it's like messing with me so bad.
Oh, old school boss man too.
Yeah, yeah. I just
Oh,
randomized it, but unrelated. But just because I'm seeing Cameron Grimes, so every day at 1 o'clock, Barstool does a podcast called The Yak. Just
yep.
a bunch of Barstool personalities just shooting the shit. Cameron Grimes or Trevor Lee, aka Cameron Grimes, sat in for The Yak yesterday, and it was hilarious. He was very
Yeah.
good, and it took me 20 minutes to realize who he was because he said he was a former WWE superstar and he looked young, and I'm like, I don't recognize him at all. And then, with not prompted, it just hit me. I was scrolling on my phone and happened to see Cameron Grimes' name, and I'm like, oh shit, that's who's on TV right now. Because he cut his hair. He looks
Oh,
completely different. But it was cool to see. Yeah, he's going by Trevor Lee now, and he's wrestling on the Indies. But yeah, randomly, Cameron Grimes was on a Barstool podcast yesterday. And it was hilarious.
I'm gonna have to check this out because I like Barstool. And speaking of
Yeah,
that, Barstool, hit up your boys. You need a wrestling podcast, and we're the one.
yeah. We'll
I
work. We'll work
love
with Brandon.
Barstool.
We'll work with Brandon Walker. It's okay. I'll put my ego aside. We'll work with him.
Oh yeah, that guy would be amazing to work with. Just having
Resurrect
conversations with
wrestling.
about wrestling. Oh, dude, he's so great. They had that show. I thought that wrestling show that they had wrestling or it was wrestling, right?
Wrestling. Yeah, yeah,
It was great. Like
yeah.
Barstool presents wrestling. Like it was a great show. Brandon did a
It
great
did
job.
great. It did great numbers. It's just I don't think the Barstool world loved it as much. And when they were cutting back on podcasts,
Yeah.
they axed it. It is coming back, from what I understand, from what I've been watching. He's bringing it back. Just he's doing it on his own. He's not doing it with like a producer or anything. They're just waiting to get either they had floated that Britt Baker is going to be one of the first guests because she's a friend of the program.
Right.
She's was on wrestling. They've interviewed her before, but they want like a big star for their first interview too. So, but that is coming back. If in case anybody cares, wrestling is eventually going to make its way back to the Barstool airwaves.
That's a nice friend to have right there.
Yeah,
That's not a bad friend of the program. For the mid card is friends with a few wrestlers. Vince Russo is a friend of the program. He follows the mid card on Twitter, which is unbelievable. I love
interesting.
Vince. I love Vince Russo. I've had a few interactions with him on Twitter, and then he hit the old follow button and he commented on a couple. I went on a rant one time a few years ago about him because people were just disrespecting Russo, and I went off, and he liked it and like retweeted it. Like it was good friend of the program. You know what I mean? Good friend of the program. You gotta appreciate a guy like that. I love Vinny Rue. All right, let's get into it, man. Monday Night Raw, like you had mentioned before, probably the best show of the week. It was starts off Gunther starts off Raw. You know what I mean? With his promo that leads up into his match, King of the Ring. He's getting a match versus Damian Priest. How do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about Gunther going against Damian? I feel like he should probably take the title from him.
Yeah, I think Gunther's going to take the championship. I do think there's going to be interference from the Judgment Day. I do think Finn's going to betray Damian Priest in some way, because that's just building. I mean, again, we'll get to it because at the end of the show, but Finn kind of went rogue and made or requested a match for himself in JD McDonough because he was kind of tired of being overlooked. So I do think in some way Finn in Liv or Finn on his own interferes. Not that Gunther needs it, but I think that they will still try to protect Damian Priest as a top of the card guy, so he won't lose clean, in my opinion. But I do think I think it's only right that Gunther gets a world championship opportunity, and I think if you're trying to legitimize that title, the best person to do it is Gunther. Have Gunther run with that title for the next 6 months until WrestleMania, and then from there, you can kind of figure out who you want to flop it to or flip it to.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like it a lot, and I think Gunther deserves the title too. I really, really do. I feel like he's the right guy for the job. And then we go right into my main man, Braun Breaker versus I'm gonna mess up his name, but
Ilya Dragunov.
Ilya. It's Ilya Dragunov, right? That's how you say it.
Get used to saying it too, because that man is talented as hell.
Those two have been wrestling for like the last couple months, like consistently on Raw, and they continue to put on good matches every time they're out there. Like
to quote a great Irishman, it's, or is it a Scotsman? I can't remember which one says it, but they continue to have banger after banger after banger.
That's McIntyre. That's a Scott.
All right, I didn't know if it was. I thought it was McIntyre. Maybe it might have been a little Sheamus. Not sure, but their chemistry is phenomenal in the ring.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And then obviously, I love the way that this match ended. I don't know how you feel about it, but you get a referee stoppage. Braun Breaker absolutely just demolishing Ilya after a good back and forth. You know what I mean? Spears him into the hard part of the ring. Like, absolutely. Braun brought out a few moves that like I haven't seen before or don't remember seeing in WWE rings that I thoroughly enjoyed. Like when he dropped Ilya rib first onto the top of the ring post early on in the match, loved it. Love that. Like innovative, shows his power, and I mean that looked like it hurt. You know what I mean? Like that looked like it hurt. And then Braun obviously Braun's getting the title match at SummerSlam. I feel like he's going over.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like the best thing for the Intercontinental title right now.
And it's funny because I mentioned on the last show that what I think is going on is they're trying to instill or play the angle that Braun Breaker either doesn't respect the elder statesmen, the champions, or he just doesn't respect the business, but he's ahead of himself and he's not respecting anybody. And I think that's what they're playing at, because Adam Pearce had made a comment, I think 2 Raws ago, basically saying that to Braun Breaker, like, you need to respect what's going on, you need to respect me, you need to respect the game, and kind of play it the right way, or this thing's going to keep happening to him, where he was getting, I think they kicked him out of the building last week and all this stuff. So I think that's what they're doing, is they're playing that angle where he's uber talented, but he doesn't respect the business, the game, his opponents, and he's got to kind of get grounded. But I think 100% next week he's getting that championship.
I think so too. I think it's the best thing for him and for the title. He's a believable guy. He's like, in the IC title has obviously always been a stepping stone for superstars to take that next step. And him being so early on in his main card, like he's on the main roster and stuff like that, like I feel like it's the right move. I don't think Sami Zayn has as much traction as they thought he would. I feel like maybe he floundered a little more than they expected. Is that fair to say?
I think the hype train behind Sami Zayn has kind of taken off a little bit, or well,
Yeah.
left the station rather. Um, so it makes sense. It's been about a year and a half since he really got that hype. He's had the title for about 6 months. They haven't done much with him where he's come
Right.
out as a hero. I think people were ready for him to lose the Intercontinental Championship already. So
Yes.
it just makes sense to me that he drops it, maybe moves on, maybe ends up on SmackDown to kind of help the old bloodline. It's going to be something along those lines because they also have to figure out what to do with Jey Uso because he's just
Mm.
spinning circles as well. So I think it's time for Sammy to kind of move on to another program. I don't think he's got the same excitement that he had before.
I agree. I think that everybody expected him to lose the title the last time that he faced Braun at the PLE, and when it didn't
Yeah.
happen, everybody was like, "Wow, that's surprising." You know what I mean? And yeah, I think all momentum that he did have from WrestleMania is gone. Like it's just he cut that promo a few weeks ago where he was like, "I'm not the underdog, I'm the champ," and like
Hmm.
I just don't think the audience is buying it right now. It's just not his time. Nothing against Sammy, I just don't think it's his time right
Is that Ridge Holland?
now.
I'm pretty sure Ridge Holland just won a Royal Rumble behind me.
What
I'm
now? What year is that game?
it's the newest one. I got on sale. Yeah, as
Oh,
you can see. Yeah.
I need to get a new PS5. I held off on it for a long time, but with NCAA and I need it. I need it in my life. But we'll get it. Anyway, the next match it's Lyra Valkyria versus Sonya Deville. This could be the headline of a pay per view of matches I don't give a shit about. Uh, did you care about this? I mean, the only thing that got like interesting was the fact that we got Nikki Cross as Abby the Witch after the match.
Yeah, which that was cool. Because I think we need to see more Nikki Cross in that psychotic role because she plays it so well. Um, I thought it was interesting that Lyra Valkyria lost the match because she was pushed so heavily coming up from NXT. And I think as much as I do like Sonya, she's not going anywhere. There's more younger, women wrestlers that are probably going to get the spotlight. But yeah, I mean, it was to further the storyline of the trio. It was just weird, it didn't. It was filler. It was kind of filler, and it was just interesting that they put Sonya over Lyra Valkyria. But I think the reason is because of a match later on with Selena Vega, where they're kind of being forced to push Vega right now as well. So like I will circle back to it, but yeah, it was not much there.
No, not like it just wasn't interesting. It was a filler match, and that's exactly what it was. It
Mhm.
served its purpose, and then we go into the next segment, and that is my boy CM Punk cleared, reinstated, and he's back, baby, the greatest of all time. I I'm like in that camp now. I think CM Punk is the greatest. I think it's him and Brett. They're the top of my list right now.
Pepsi Phil.
I just love him so much.
Yeah. I mean, my only argument
Uh-huh.
is he does seem to be made of glass, so I'm hoping that
Yeah,
he can hold himself together. And that 10-year gap makes it very hard for me to just say he's the greatest of all time because there was a long period of time where he wasn't there and other things were happening. And I get there wasn't another promotion, whatever. And
right.
that's you could argue obviously that he's the GOAT, but I find it I just that gap makes it hard for me to agree with that. That's the only thing.
With that being said, I
I
feel
just say
like
that being said, he's one of my favorites though. So like I'm just playing
even
kind of devil's advocate.
yeah, but even I've heard people say this too, so it's not like that's not like out of the blue. You know what I mean? People are like, "Well, he left for 10 years," and if you look at every other great wrestler in the history of wrestling, right? There was always a gap somewhere in their career, whether they like Hulk Hogan went Hollywood after the steroid trials, and then not only that, but he had a couple years or like a year, maybe two, where he was on the roster for WCW, but he was floundering, and he floundered in WWF too at the end of his run there, the first one. Um, Punk never had that. Like he never like faded. You know what I mean? He's always been white hot whenever he's on a roster and on TV. And even Jericho, you know what I mean, had his absences where he took off and then came back. And then now at the end of his career, it is what it is. Like it's done. But
Yeah, but nobody's taken a 10-year hiatus where they basically took their ball and went home and said, I'm not wrestling ever again. There were other promotions he could have gone to. He could have gone back to Ring of Honor. He could have gone
yeah,
overseas. He tried to do mixed martial arts and got his ass kicked. Like it. Again, I'm a huge CM Punk fan, but I do think that you have to take into consideration that he was injured a lot, and that was one of the reasons why he left the WWE, because he didn't feel like he was being taken care of properly. And since he's returned to wrestling, he has been injured a lot.
yes.
So that's tough.
He definitely has had injuries. I think they're just like really weird freak injuries though, like the ones that he's had. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
tearing
but
his pec in the
like,
Rumble, like was weird. Like it was just one of those freak things. Like, and then in AEW, you know, whatever. I don't want to trash on AEW, but whatever happened there happened there. But anyway, how did you feel about the segment between him and McIntyre that ultimately leads to McIntyre versus Punk with Seth Rollins as the special guest referee?
oh, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic because it cements CM Punk as the face by saying, "Hey, I'm cleared. Let's fight now." And then Drew comes out and goes, "Oh, you want to fight? Nah, I'm not going to fight in front of Green Bay. These people don't deserve it." And then CM Punk chases him. The security comes out. Adam Pearce comes out, tells them that they can't touch each other until next week. And I think the whole segment was really good. It wasn't too long. It had the exact amount of heat. And then Seth Rollins just makes everything better.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to play out with Seth being the referee. I feel like he's going to screw Punk over somehow, and that's how.
So
But
do I.
see, the problem is like we've built this up for so long with Punk and McIntyre that I don't want it to end like that. You know what I mean?
I don't think it will.
Or it
There's
could be a
still
swerve where Seth Rollins screws over McIntyre, or he plays it right down the middle and just referees a
there's
match.
there's still a possibility that we get some sort of triple threat match at WrestleMania between these three for maybe the World Heavyweight Championship, maybe a fatal four-way with Gunther if Gunther still has it. Like there's still a lot of moving parts to this. I don't think it ends at SummerSlam. I think it starts at SummerSlam because now everyone's healthy, everyone can hit each other, like we're ready to go. Like they had to tread water for like the last 6 months, 7 months, 8 months just to get to this match. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just the beginning. As if everyone stays healthy, it's just the beginning of what I think will be a bunch of matches between these three. Maybe there's a championship involved. Maybe it doesn't need it, but there's a lot of possibility coming out of SummerSlam.
Yeah, I agree. And while we're on the CM Punk stuff, the big news coming out of this week, I don't know if I sent you the link, but CM Punk trying to restructure his contract with WWE.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think I love it. I love it so much. Because CM Punk, and as we were saying, in the conversation, greatest of all time, great performer in the ring and on the mic. And I've said it on this show that I think that CM Punk should, in some capacity, work in NXT when he's done. And while he kind of called everything, he said it wasn't necessarily true, or he refuted it in his own words. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some truth to it where he's looking at WWE going, hey, I want to stay here for the long haul. Is there some way I can transition to a coach or like an office role of some sort, like producer role or something at the end of my contract? And I think that's what's going on. They're trying to structure to keep him there longer and then have him have a guaranteed spot either as a trainer, as a developmental coach, something like Shawn Michaels is doing, or producer or something like that.
So, from everything that I read, at first it was rumored that he was on a short-term deal, and this was just to get a deal done for like the next couple of years or whatever it was. And then it came out that CM Punk is actually signed through 2026, but he wanted to add dates to his contract and to extend it to stay with them longer, like you're saying. Both sides know that they both want to be together. Everything now, like this week, I loved all of this coming out. because everybody with the CM Punk's a cancer and all that stuff. Like, yeah, has he been a problem in the past of locker rooms? Yeah. AEW was not his fault. I think we are all seeing this. But I think like the stories of CM Punk being a good soldier and being wanting to be there is we're seeing a new CM Punk, or maybe we're just seeing who CM Punk really is behind the scenes that just didn't get publicized before. But this is what Meltzer had to say about the all the contract talks from Punk. What the hell? I just had to pop up. Come on. Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
Uh oh. Uh oh.
Is it a bad pop-up?
Nah, it'll be all right. We're good. All right. So this is quote unquote from Dave Meltzer. There's a story going around about CM Punk renegotiating his contract, and it's really overblown. What happened when CM Punk came in? They had a short-term deal, which is expiring now. This is according to Meltzer. Now there are rollovers in the deal, so there's not like a hurry to have him signed. But the deal does go long because the deal does go longer because of the rollovers. But they knew all along that right around now would be when they were renegotiating the deal. People are talking like, "Oh, hey, he's trying to renegotiate his contract," and it's like kind of overblown that that was going to happen now anyway. So everyone is getting along just fine. There's nothing wrong or anything like that. They're just trying to get the deal done. I mean, it's a story, but I don't think it's a story that people are trying to make it. Because I see all the comments and I'm seeing like, oh, he's angling for this, or he's trying to get a lifetime contract, or he has somebody else making more than money than him. And he's trying to get more money. And what he's actually trying to do is CM Punk is trying to hammer down the terms that everyone knew they were going to do at a certain point, which is now. Just to basically get everyone back on the same page because they both know where they want to be and they both want to get this done together. Which I mean, for Meltzer to come out and say that about Punk, that's pretty good here. I like that.
Well,
What do you think of,
Punk must have gotten to him then.
what do you mean?
Well, so
To Meltzer?
he'd put out, I think, like a tweet or something that had said, I used to jump to defend myself when rumors start circulating, and then now I sit and wait to see who runs with it to know who to cut off or something along those lines.
Right, yeah, because Punk is known for setting traps like that with the media.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. I can't even get this fucking thing to back up. I don't know what's going on here. My computer is just acting funky today. Oh.
And he's gone. Well, while I sit in dead air, I think really what CM Punk is trying to do, and I've said it before. I said it earlier on in the show, months ago, that I believe that he is. I think that he wants to stay in, like, the reports were that he wants to kind of take over for Shawn Michaels, and I think that's not far or out of the realm of possibility. I think that he would like to at some point be a coach or run NXT because he earlier in his time while he was injured, he was seen at the NXT facility a lot. He's been imparting a lot of his wisdom. He has been working with some of the younger guys. And I think ultimately, like, he's realizing he still loves the business. He loves the direction the WWE's gone in since Triple H has taken over. Maybe he's seeing that it wasn't Triple H that was the bad guy, it was Vince. And he wants to kind of put his stamp on the business going forward. And the best way to do it is to work with NXT as he gets older and his body starts to break down. And maybe he's seeing that now that he's realizing with all these injuries and recovery and rehab, he doesn't, kind of like Kenny Omega, where like he doesn't have too many of these left in his body in his lifetime. So I think ultimately that's really what's going on, is he's going to WWE and Triple H and saying, hey, like, this is what I want to do. How can we work out a contract where I don't have to worry about renegotiating, or I can have some peace of mind? And someone reported that he was renegotiating. It blew up. People started kind of giving him crap about it. And now, we have all these different reports of people trying to kind of save face and come back. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I fall on that. Let's see We just Brendan is or Bams is reaching out. It seems he's having some computer issues, which is normal.
We're
Oh,
back.
it's just about to text you back too. I noticed that you had messaged me, but yeah, I was just saying. I don't know if you've seen anything, but basically just giving my thoughts on the CM Punk situation.
Nice. I didn't see what you were saying, but yeah, I feel like the CM Punk thing is like overblown. Anything what Punk is, anytime there's like any contract talks or anything that he does, he could like sneeze in an alleyway and somebody would have a problem with it. I feel
Yeah,
like he's just so polarizing of that, like especially in the wrestling business. Like you have people that hate him or love him, and there's like really no middle ground for CM Punk. But I'm excited that they're going to get a long term deal done. I feel like this is obviously where he's always wanted to be. It was just a matter of ironing out the BS, and I feel like they've done a really good job of that with Triple H and him. And the fact that Triple H is able to put his stuff aside with Punk and get all this stuff done, and both of them have working together shows growth for both of them. I love every second of it, and I'm here for Punk to retire as a WWE superstar, which is what he deserves to do.
yeah.
All right, so let's jump on this. The next match that we have is Xavier Woods, Akira Tozawa, and Otis versus the Final Testament, another filler match.
Well, it's not necessarily filler. There is a storyline here, but yeah, it's a match. It's a story that I don't really care about, but it is there. It's nice to see Karrion Kross getting a win. The stuff after is, I think, what people really care about, and that's the real story.
Yeah, do you want to jump right into this?
Yeah, so Gable and the Creed brothers came out offering to bring Tozawa and Otis back into the fold. Otis said no. They started getting their asses kicked, and the Wyatt Six hit the Wyatt Six appeared at the ramp, and we finally got to see Uncle Howdy in the ring and hit Sister Abigail, and the crowd absolutely went freaking nuts.
How do you feel about the dreadlocks that are attached to Uncle Howdy? I see people making a big deal out of this, like it's like a real storyline here.
Really? I haven't seen that at all, but I mean, it doesn't bother me.
A lot of people are upset saying that he's literally just trying to rip off Bray, and I'm like, you don't get it. Like,
yeah, I think if someone's saying he's ripping off Bray, then they have been living under a rock for the past 2 years.
Right.
I think they had something special with Bray, actually, as we say this. Bray, right there. But I think they had something special going with him, and instead of them just letting it go, they have his brother who's equally as talented, equally as, I mean, when I say
no, you're right. You hit it right on the head.
Talented, definitely, but like the mind for this stuff, I think he also has it. It just was never. He didn't get put in the role of Bray Wyatt. He was Bo Dallas, so he was never able to run with the creativity that Bray Wyatt was. And I think now that you're getting to see him run with that creativity, you're seeing that he is just as creative as his brother was with this stuff. And he's probably having help. I get everyone's got help, but
yeah,
I love it. And I think if you have a problem with him using the Uncle Howdy character, having the dreads with the character, hitting Sister Abigail, you're missing the point.
Right, exactly.
You're missing what's actually going on. And like, I get it if in a year they're still relying heavily on Bray Wyatt connections in that regard. I can kind of get it. But I think for right now, just enjoy the fact that like we're still getting to celebrate one of the most unique and interesting minds that the business had ever seen.
I couldn't agree more, dude. And I feel like you said, Bo has always had the talent and the mind for the wrestling business, but he was locked in a box. Like the Bo Dallas stuff when he was doing the Bo Leave, that got NXT off of the ground. Like, let's make no mistake about this. Even like his first, their first pay-per-view or their first live event, whatever you want to call it, on the WWE Network, was Bo Dallas in a ladder match for the title where he lost. But he had so much heat that when he lost the title, there was such a huge pop, and it wasn't who beat him. Was it Neville?
I honestly, maybe, because I know he had a run as NXT champion, but I'd have to go back to the Wayback Machine. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I forget exactly who was against it, but that again shows what you watched for. And I was a big Bo Dallas. I was a big Bo Leaver. And then, but if you watch some of the old FCW stuff of him and Bray, like he was right there alongside Bray doing this. Like the whole thing is paying homage to Bray and continuing the storyline that they were supposed to do in the first place. We're missing one of the best minds that the wrestling business has ever seen, Bray Wyatt. But I feel like Bo, and like you said, he's getting help, and everybody might complain about that. But I love the fact that WWE allows their talent to pretty much run with their storylines, and they just guide them.
Yeah.
Like that's like we talked about it, and not to harp on. I'm not going to like bury AEW here, but that's what AEW is missing is the direction from a producer or somebody like that to give them advice and guidance towards a certain way to go about this. Like, and that's what WWE does well. And it is a slow build with the Wyatts, and we're gonna obviously see at SummerSlam there's gonna be like an explosion in the ring with those guys. I feel like.
Well, I think SummerSlam it's going to be the Creed brothers and Chad Gable versus Loomis, Gacy, and Rowan. I don't think Bo Dallas gets in the ring, but I do think that the three lesser, I don't want to say lesser, but the three kind of like lower on the totem pole, because it's going to be a clear win regardless. I think they're going to make them look super strong, but
Yes.
I definitely think they'll keep Bo Dallas and they'll protect him. And it's going to be Gacy, Loomis, and Rowan against the Creed brothers and Gable, with obviously the Wyatt Six taking the victory.
Yeah, I agree. There's no way that they don't come out and beat the crap out of whoever's in front of them. Like, it's going to be clear. They are going to be dominant, and they should be, because they built this up for so long. They can't come out and have a close match. It needs to be one-sided. Like, it needs to be a beatdown. There's no other way. It just is what it is. It has to be a beatdown.
Well, that's why they put the Creed brothers with Gable, because if it's Otis and Tozawa, they're too sympathetic, where fans would still want those two to win, or would want there to be some type of. It's easier for the crowd to get behind a win when it's the Creed brothers, who nobody really has a connection to, as opposed to Otis, who is absolutely over right now.
Yeah. No. 100% right. You hit the nail on the head on that one. I'm excited to see where it goes, and I hope that they continue to do it right, because they've done it right so far since they made their debuts, and slowly getting more and more of their characters revealed, and I'm loving every second of it. Like, they're handling this very, very well, I feel like.
Yeah.
Especially with the Bo Dallas stuff, like when he was in the ring just giggling and like doing like the Bray-esque stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I like that. Like, I think that's cool. It just adds that little element that we need. You know what I mean? To have like something this creepy.
Yeah.
We need it. All right. So the next segment was Sheamus coming out and going after Pete Dunne. And who else was it? Bronson Reed, right? Yeah, it was Reed.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely just uncorks and beats the brakes off of these dudes. Like, how did you feel about Sheamus getting his revenge this week? Like, I feel like it was obviously needed, right? Because he took a beating the week before. So.
I love that Pete Dunne's getting TV time again. And I love that it looks like we're going to a program either with Bronson Reed and Pete Dunne and Sheamus, or just Sheamus and Pete Dunne. But I love that he's getting the rub with a former WWE champion, like multi-time WWE champion, and still a pretty popular star. I love that, because I think Pete Dunne, for all the fact that he's a smaller guy and that his wrestling style isn't as exciting, I think is still someone that should be pushed, or at least not protected, but he should be getting more than what he's been getting over the last few months.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
He was loved in NXT.
He was great, and that goes to the undersized thing. Like, he is a small guy. Like, but as far as mid-card goes, he's a perfect mid-card guy, because he's believable in the ring. He can put on a good match with anybody, and he's fun to watch. Like,
his matches are insane. He has chemistry with everybody he gets in the ring with.
Yeah, he reminds me of Regal. Like, the way he wrestles, and I know that's probably intentional, because I think that's one of his like idols growing up. Was or like somebody he looked up to. I don't want to use the word idol, but yeah, somebody he looked up to growing up, and like the style he emulated was a lot of William Regal, and you can see that in his wrestling. And when he gets in there, he has a great match with everybody. Like, he's a guy that can be utilized on any wrestling card for WWE going forward, and be
100%.
Should be on TV like how we're seeing him now. I don't like seeing him hidden, because, like you said, for a while he was like off TV, and it wasn't. For no reason, or he'd pop up and just get smacked around and then off TV. You know what I mean? Now we're actually
on Main Event or something like that, which is where wrestlers go to die.
Oh yeah, yeah, I don't. I don't even think I've ever watched the main event.
I don't
Like,
even know how you can watch it. I don't know like where.
that's fair too because I have no. It's got to be on Peacock, I'd
I think it's
assume.
on Peacock. Yeah, I think it's on Peacock.
I think so, right? Because they have that Speed Championship too.
Yeah, that's on
Um,
X.
there's also something I want to get into after we're done covering Raw. Um, but then we go right into the Rhea Ripley segment. Yeah, the Rhea Ripley segment. Her just tearing apart Judgment Day for going after Jey Uso. I
Hmm.
don't get why this is a thing. Like why? I understand like Jay's been waving at mommy and all this stuff, but like, is that where Jey Uso's headed? He went from being a main event push to now being in a love interest storyline with Rhea Ripley in a love triangle for Dominic.
I think it's just more to highlight the fractures within Judgment Day. I think it's more to show where how the entire group now has their minds in different areas,
Uh-huh.
and they're not clicking. They're not on the same page like they used to be. I think it's strictly just to show the cracks in the pavement.
There's got to be a payoff for it though, and I think this is a way to get Dom in the ring with Jay. You know what I mean? Like, because he's gonna be like jealous, obviously. You're like, because the whole live done thing and all that stuff, and let's cover that while we're at it too, because Rhea Ripley and Liv had a segment together, and obviously like you're saying, there's a bunch of fractures that are coming through the Judgment Day since Rhea left, and Jey Uso is like infatuated with Rhea Ripley, which back off Jay, because I will fight you in the parking lot. I swear to God. I swear, Rhea Ripley, I love you. But I feel like there's like because Dom is just a manager essentially, so I think this is a way to get him back in the ring. But I don't like the love interest storylines. Like I don't. The Liv thing made sense because she was going after Dominic just to get to Rhea, but now you add Jay in there, and is this just Rhea's payback to Dom? And like it's Rikishi tore it apart on Twitter. I don't know if you saw that. He was not
Yeah,
happy
I
with the
did.
way
Yeah,
the
yeah.
storyline was going. I don't know. I just don't. I'm not into it. I don't like it. I feel like it's a waste for these guys. Maybe they don't have anything for them, like those two. Like, because
I will
Jay,
reserve. Well, Jay, they don't have anything for, but I think
right?
I want to reserve my judgment, no pun intended, until after SummerSlam to see exactly what happens, because I still think that it's just to highlight the division within the group itself. I don't think they're going to involve Jay with Ray Ripley. I don't think either of the two need
Oh, I
each
don't
other.
know.
I think it's just to highlight the split that's coming between Dom and Rhea Ripley and the backstabbing or the what do you call it, the Benedict Arnoldism of what's going to happen between. I still think Dom, Liv, and Finn, or Finn and Liv. Dom maybe is collateral damage. I don't know, but that's really what I think is happening. I think Jay's just being used in it because he doesn't have anything at the moment. Coming out of SummerSlam, I think he's going to be in something wildly different, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree. I don't think he's in it for the long term, but I feel like in the short term, he's wrapped up in this stupid crap, and he will be more involved than he should be. Like, I understand what you're saying, but I feel like to show that division, they're gonna have to add Jay into like an in-ring thing with Dom, or like where Rhea. I don't know. It's gonna be a weird thing how they go through this. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe I should hold off judgment like you're doing. I don't like the direction. I am jealous of Dom. The fact that he got to get licked by Rhea Ripley right on his face. Um, it should have been me. You know what I mean? Like, there's no other way to go about it. It should have been me. Rhea Ripley knows it. I know it. Everybody knows it. Maybe she
I think
doesn't
Buddy
know it.
Matthews might have something to say about it.
Bring it on. That's one. I'm ready. I'm ready for that action. I'm about that action, boss, as Marshawn Lynch would say. But if she's gonna lick anybody, why does it have to be Dom? Why can't it be me? Um, how do you how did you feel about the way that this Liv Morgan storyline? By the way, those shorts were unbelievable. Just really hammering home the fact that the PG era is bye bye.
Yeah, they're towing that line.
They're
They probably
way over
can't
that line.
wait to get to net. Yeah, they can't wait to get to Netflix. Um, I, I do think, and I'm gonna say this tentatively because I think the reason they did it is it's a red herring. But like watching the women's champion like walk away from like the arena like bawling her eyes out because like the boy she likes is told her he hates her, kind of
Weird.
a little high school to me. And it was like I don't. This is like I kind of thought it was dumb,
Mhm.
but also holding off on full judgment because I think the point is that she again doesn't care about Dom. I don't think she really gives two flying shits about Dom. I think it is just a psychological game that her and Finn are playing that we're going to see soon to kind of throw the Judgment Day into like loop and get everyone to take sides and kind of just like establish the dominance of Finn over the rest of the group. Because I think
So
Finn also,
you're still 100% on the fact that Finn Balor is coming out of this as the ringleader of tearing them apart.
yeah, I think he's going to be the
Okay.
main reason. Him and Liv will be the main reason that because like if you rewind to the beginning, the Judgment Day's leader was Edge,
Yes.
and to get Edge out of the heel spot, they brought in Finn Balor to join the group and then turn on Edge. And in my mind, when that happens, the new guy they bring in, kind of like Solo Sikoa, is your de facto leader. And I think brilliantly, they kind of gave the Money in the Bank contract to Damian Priest. He kind of got more main card pushes. Finn was kind of relegated to the tag team, and they slowly built Damian Priest and kind of by accident Rhea Ripley to be the real leaders, even though
Yeah.
Finn was so clearly originally kind of the new top of the guy. And I think it's long-term storytelling that we're going to see it pay off for Finn, and you're seeing it every show, including this episode, where Finn's kind of getting sick of being treated as the stooge. I think he thinks he's. I
Yeah.
mean, he is a former, he's the first Universal Champion. Um, so I think that's going to ultimately be the biggest wedge that gets driven to split and fracture the Judgment Day is Finn turning on the group and finding out that he's been working with Liv to orchestrate this just massive coup or implosion of the group itself.
That's fair. I'd like to see that, honestly. Like we talked about, I'd like to see Finn back on top of the card, and
Dying for it.
it'll be fun to see how they all play this out. It's just again
I don't know if
another
you're gonna be able to see it.
weird. It's like the love interest storylines. Oh, I do like that. I have a Finn shirt in here somewhere. I have like the Bullet Club original or the whatever they call it now. The whatever they called it then. It was, but that's what I have, the BCE.
Yeah.
And then we have Zelina Vega versus Zoe Stark, another match I could honestly give a shit about. I skipped it, to be completely honest with you. I went right into Jey Uso and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day. And did you watch that match?
Which one? Because you mentioned two.
Zayn and well, I skipped the women's
Yeah.
match, so I have no interest in even talking about it. I didn't even watch it. Zayn and
So
Uso versus the Judgment Day.
yeah, I thought. I mean, it was a good match for what it was. I mean, it's just four really good competitors, but I think again, it's the extracurriculars. You've got the tag team champions losing in a non-title match to two guys that are technically higher on the card than they are. So that's only I think going to enrage. And this match was brought on by Finn going rogue and asking for the match without kind of conversing with the rest of the group. So there was already kind of some issues. Rhea Ripley stormed away. Damian Priest wasn't happy with it. I think Carlito made his famous comment, that's uncool kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do it
Yep.
now. So I think I love what it did for the story. The match was good, but I think you have to read into it more, like in the layers, because we got the champions losing, which
Mhm.
I think is going to show it's going to cause some issues with the group that Finn went rogue and couldn't get the job done. And I also think obviously having Braun Breaker run through Sami Zayn and end the show as the guy
Yes.
is huge, I think, for the Intercontinental Championship and for the Braun Breaker brand.
I agree. And
Say that 3 times fast.
Braun Breaker brand. Braun Breaker brand. Braun Breaker brand. I love
All right.
Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
Love Braun Breaker. I love the way that ended. That heads right into SummerSlam with these two guys, and Braun Breaker just looking like he's going to absolutely run through Sami Zayn, which I would not hate, because a few years ago when we got the John Cena versus Brock Lesnar and Lesnar like just destroyed him with a million suplexes, I thought that was the right move for Brock to make him look strong coming off of the Undertaker win. And I feel like if Braun comes in and demolishes Sami Zayn and takes the title, I feel like that elevates the Intercontinental title and
Yep.
looks like Braun is an unstoppable force and going to be a real problem with that title. I feel like it's a win-win, and long term it won't hurt Sami anyway because of how good Braun is. So
They
it's
they
like
have they have the opportunity to have Raw, the main champions on Raw be Gunther and Braun Breaker, who are just two phenomenal in-ring performers who are just in general unstoppable.
right,
And I think that's so good for Raw moving forward because they don't have because those titles are, well, granted, I can't say the United States Championship is like a main mid card because that title's been MIA. But when LA Knight wins that championship next Saturday, it's going to elevate the United States Championship. So having Raw have the two lesser titles, I think is going to be great to have the guys who are going to win them on Saturday defending those going forward. It's gonna kind of SmackDown has more of the star power with the higher level championships. I think Raw has had better storytelling and is now going to have better champions to kind of push the wrestling and the stories forward.
yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And that's how Raw ends. Is with that, how do you think it? I think it, like if you're gonna give it a grade, what would you think?
Like a B plus. I thought it was a
Okay,
great Raw. I
that's
think
fair.
there was obviously some low points, but the stories, the advancements of everything, it just it was a good show, very good show.
It was a good show. I'd say it's a B. So like we're
Yeah,
right around the same mark. I feel like it was a really good Raw. Let's hop into SmackDown real quick. I did not finish SmackDown. Like I said, I recorded it and I just haven't had the chance to watch it back yet. But we can go over exactly what happened. How did you watch some of SmackDown? You said right.
a little
You're
bit.
still
Yeah,
working your way through. So it starts off with LA Knight and Santos Escobar with LA Knight going over. I still feel like LA Knight, while he's getting these number one contenders matches, is just like treading water. Like they don't know exactly what direction to put him in.
it's crazy to me that they won't push him, and I think it's because of all like he's on SmackDown,
Yep.
so he can't compete for the WWE Championship because you can't have
Right.
hot faces compete for the same title.
Right.
And he's also never had a championship run. So that's why I said like a minute or two ago that it's very clear I think he's going to beat Logan Paul because it's a great win for
I think
him
so. Yeah.
to kind of reestablish his spot in the card, reestablish his hype. Because people don't want Logan Paul to keep holding that title. I think, in my opinion, I'm over Logan. I've been over Logan Paul forever. I don't like him or his brother. Um, and he's a great performer in the ring. Don't get me wrong; like he
Yes.
picked it up very well, and he's very good. But I just think he doesn't have a character. He just plays Logan Paul, which I think is dumb because like I'm not gonna go play. Like I guess it works because of who he is, but
Exactly. That's why.
yeah.
Because
But
he's the YouTube star.
I just think that's it's kind of run its course for me, and I think the best way to get just like astronomical face heat for LA Knight is to have him recapture the WWE, the United States Championship from the villain that everyone's kind of over at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think you're right. I think the Logan Paul thing has run its course right now. And I think that title needs to be on the show more.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I
that's one of the things that SmackDown misses. It's only 2 hours, but like this show was so boring and had nothing going on that like you need LA Knight needs to be on it more, and you need his like charisma and his like his cockiness with a championship over his shoulder. You know what I mean?
I also feel like if you get that title on LA Knight, that helps out Cody Rhodes because it takes off some of the pressure.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not the main storyline as the main guy every week. People aren't just looking to see Cody Rhodes. It's like, oh man, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen with LA Knight this week. Like, man, that shit that he did last week was hilarious. Like, I wonder who he's gonna tear apart this week. You know, it gives you something else to talk about and to look forward to.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's time to move on from him. It is though. And then where are we gonna go here? So that's where then we had Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. They call the Unholy Union. That doesn't even interest me at all.
Yeah, it was a weird program. This
Like,
is the last thing I saw. It's just a weird program. I almost forget who the women's champions are because you'd think that since there's only one women's championship that they would be featured on both shows. It's not. And it was just weird because it's, again, you can't pay me to believe that Isla Dawn and Alba Fire would straight up beat Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair if they were to go at it again. So it just doesn't make sense in the first place why the tag team championships were taken off of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, outside of the fact that they wanted to give the hometown girls a win in their hometown. So
Yeah.
it's like they're in a weird spot. I haven't seen a title defense. They might have done it once. Nobody online, there doesn't seem to be any traction in the storyline. So it's unfortunately just a very underdeveloped story that, they still can't get the women's tag team champions to be cared about at all.
Yeah, it's just I. This goes back to, I think they have too many titles. Like, I don't think there's a need for a women's tag team title.
I think there would be a need if they had more established women's tag teams. Like, do you remember how good the Iconics were? Like that was a great tag team between, like, I mean, those were two stars that were just great together. And I think if they had more legitimate women's tag teams, like, it would be a better division. But they just throw people together like Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler, and they bring Sonya Deville in because they're all kind of like MMA backgrounds. Like, cool, but like, let's establish that, which they tried to do. But like, there's not enough established tag teams, and it's just too much like throwing people together and seeing what sticks.
I just don't think they have enough TV time to have everybody care about every title. And I think the
That's
women's
true too.
titles, then they use the women's title as something to set up their women's championship. You know what I mean? It's never been about the tag teams. It's always been about individuals and then moving them on from that title. So I don't know. It goes. I'm a big fan of like fewer titles because it just means more to chase than it
Yeah,
does
I agree.
if you have so many. You know what I mean? And it's any program too. It's WWE has too many titles. Even the men's side, it's just weird. But anyway, then we have the tag team gauntlet where the Bloodline obviously wins that. Just Jacob Fatu obviously just demolished a bunch of people. I guess that's what I was
Yeah.
just watching, like, the highlight, and he like absolutely ran roughshod over everybody, which I love that idea. I just where are you gonna go with it now? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't. I want to see the Bloodline do something as opposed to just like wreak havoc over everybody. Like, give them a definitive thing besides Cody Rhodes. Like, these other guys have to do something. Like, put the tag team titles on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which I think is unfortunately what's going to happen to DIY, because I think DIY is the tag team champions over on SmackDown, because it was A-Town Down Under, and what happened?
I didn't know that Bud Crawford was on SmackDown.
Bud Crawford?
The boxer. Yeah, the boxer. Terrence Crawford.
Oh, yeah. They've been using him the last couple weeks.
I didn't know that. I haven't watched SmackDown. So I was just watching the highlight where I guess he
gave Cody
a
chair. Yeah, he gave Cody a chair last week, and then this week he knocked out, I think it was Austin Theory, yeah.
So we're gonna get him at SummerSlam
Yeah.
Which makes sense because you always have a superstar like a pop star, and
yeah.
Bud Crawford's one of the best boxers of this generation. So
he's undefeated from what I understand.
Mm-hmm. He's a monster, dude. Just an absolute monster. He's smaller in stature, but he can pack a punch, dude. So that was a cool thing, I guess, to get Terrence Crawford and Austin Theory there. That's obviously where Austin Theory is going to go. I don't think they have anything for Theory, and I don't think he catches on with the fan base much either.
No, that's the problem with him, because he's actually a really good talent, but nobody cares about him because
you can't connect.
Like giving him the moniker of like the chosen one from Vince McMahon, and then having Vince McMahon obviously not turn out to be a giant scumbag, but just like get outed as a giant scumbag he is, like, kind of ruins you for the rest of the fans.
Yeah,
because like when this awful person is like, hey, you're the guy, and then the awful person is outed as an awful person, it kind of by association makes you an awful person, and not like that he did anything awful, but people are just like, screw that guy. So I mean, I would. It's like the same thing that CM Punk used against Drew McIntyre when he was like, hey, so who called you the chosen one? Why don't you say his name? Say it, you know what I mean? When they couldn't.
Yeah,
it gives you that kind of stink, and I think that's where Austin Theory's kind of stuck right now.
Yeah, I agree. And then we had Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax. They defeated Bayley and Mitchin. I do not care about this match. I understand why it's happening because of Bayley and Nia Jax. I do like that. I saw Bailey cut a promo. I don't know when exactly it was, but then she said that I didn't get hurt because I'm fragile or anything like that. I got hurt because you're big and clumsy. Talking to Nia Jax, and
Yeah,
absolutely roasted her. I like that, and I feel Bailey should win this match, but I feel like there's a real chance that Nia Jax is going to take that title off her.
I think there might be a cash in. I don't know if
Ooh.
Tiffany Stratton's going to hold that briefcase for too long because I mean, in ring she is ready, and people do connect with her, and I think with the crowd,
Mhm.
she may be ready. I don't particularly care for her or her persona because it's the same top of the card women's wrestler that we've seen a million times, just the blonde, like I'm better than you, whatever. Like where's Shotzi? Like that's kind of the type of like like Rhea Ripley type that I'd rather see like leading the division. Shotzi's obviously kind of rough around the edges, but I mean she dove through a mountain of chairs, like she'd throw herself through a wall. So I'm indifferent, but I think that's what's going to happen at SummerSlam. I think is that cash in is going to happen.
I couldn't agree more. I don't think that they're going to hold on to the briefcase like they did with Damian Priest because then it just gets lost in the shuffle. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
SummerSlam might be the perfect place for a cash in with Nia Jax just maybe suplexing Bailey and all that stuff, and then just sitting on her. And then all of a sudden, Tiffany Stratton comes out, takes the title away. We don't have to worry about Nia Jax, and Bailey gets off kind of scot free on that.
What I think is probably more likely is that Nia beats the crap out of Bailey, but Bailey is the scrappy underdog that she's always been her whole career. Somehow pulls the win off.
Mm-hmm.
Nia's on ringside nursing her injuries. Here comes Tiffany Stratton after Bailey just exerted all her energy lifting Nia and doing whatever. You know what I mean? I feel like that's probably more what will happen because it still protects Bailey. Still looks good. And Nia's Nia, so no matter what, if she loses or wins, she's always a threat just because of her size.
Yeah, I agree with that, dude. I overall, it doesn't look like there was much happening on SmackDown that was really worth a damn.
No, it was just pretty. It wasn't great. It wasn't a great show.
So the big news that I saw, and then we can cut it because we've already been on for over an hour. The big news that I saw was possibly Ricochet going to AEW, and maybe the rest of the Hurt Business going to AEW because they said that they wanted to put him in the Hurt Business and all this stuff. I don't think it would help. I also don't think that Ricochet is a big star. I think he'll have like those cool spotty matches that get the crowd jumping, and then the highs and lows. Like a couple weeks ago, I had Scott King on, who was a wrestler and promoter and all that stuff, and we talked about like the psychology, like the in-ring psychology of a match, and how AEW, the biggest thing that they do is they do this independent style that doesn't play towards TV because it's like, all right, you have all these cool spots that gets the crowd all the way up here, and then all of a sudden nothing happens and it drops them all the way down, and then you get a couple spots, and then you go all the way down, and it's independent wrestling, and it's fun to watch in a local show, but like you can't do that when it comes to TV, and I just feel like that's kind of who Ricochet is. Like, not much in ring psychology, just a bunch of spots that look really cool, and he can do athletic stuff that not many people on the earth can do. You know, I mean, maybe him and Will Ospreay, and that'll be the match that they get. And I just don't see why AEW would go out of their way to sign him to a big contract.
I think it'd be cool if he brought back the Prince Puma moniker. If he was able to maybe do something like that, like come back as a luchador under a mask, that gives off a mystique at least. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the Rey Mysterio thing, because Rey Mysterio is also the same type of performer.
Yeah,
but he connected with fans and has that mysterious quality about him, and I think that works. And I think it's why luchadors who unmask end up not working as well in the States. But I think that if you keep the mask on, like Penta has still been able to at least keep up some kind of fandom behind him. I think if you put him behind a mask again and kind of like this hologram character that AEW is like drooling over, the match was cool. He did some really cool shit, but like, I don't like the presence. Like, didn't the WWE try to do a hacker character with Mustafa Ali, and it didn't work? Like, and they've been working on this for years apparently. Like, right. It's just a bad, like, I don't know. Like, I think if they just give him a character people know, I'm assuming there's the rights to Prince Puma are owned by like Conan or somebody that has to do with Lucha.
Yeah, whoever has the Lucha Underground stuff.
Yeah. But like that's something like if you can bring him back as a character that he's known for, that people love, you could get some value out of him, and maybe get some of that like in-ring mysteriousness where it's not just Ricochet doing his flips and stuff.
Yeah.
But I do like Ricochet. I thought he was great as a mid-card wrestler. I also think the stuff in the Hurt
Yes.
Business is a little insane too.
No, that's exactly what you're right. He's a mid-card wrestler. He's a perfect mid-card wrestler. He can get the crowd going. He can do like the mid-card titles and stuff like that. Like he's a believable guy for that. But people like AEW fans are like talking about this being like such a huge signing, and I'm like, no, it's just another one of those signings that people will get excited about and forget about in 4 months.
Yeah, like how's Mercedes Moné doing? Like again,
Right.
big money signing, and she's not selling or drawing the way I think they thought she would.
But that goes back to the writing in AEW. She could be a star that draws, but they just don't. They don't do
I
it.
will say, if I don't want to say the Hurt Business, but like if Bobby Lashley goes over to AEW, you have to put him to the top of the main card and give him that belt right off the rip. He would be one of the most believable champions I think, besides Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho, to a degree, that they've had in a long time. Because he's just that guy. I don't care how he is on the mic. Like, he is just that dude. And I've been such a
very
big Bobby
believable
Lashley fan. Like, if Bobby Lashley goes to AEW and they give him title opportunities and he even wins, like, I'll tune in to see what he does, because he is just he's so impressive in the ring. He's just obviously kind of always been a little stale and bland on the mic.
And that's the thing, is he can't talk or draw.
Yeah.
Like, you can't bring people in, but he is an impressive specimen once you get him in the ring. But if you pair him up with an MVP and have MVP managing him, you know,
exactly.
I love MVP on the mic. He's great. He can't wrestle anymore because he's so beat up, I think. I know he did an indie show this week. I saw him posted on Instagram, but if you just have him manage and Bobby doesn't have to talk, and you can put Bobby at the top of the card and just demolish people, especially with how small their roster is, if Bobby Lashley just runs right through him, that would be terrific.
And that's the thing, is they don't have a guy like that on the roster. Like, the only big guy they have is Big Bill.
No, they have what's his face too, the other dude. Oh my goodness, he's been there
Luchasaurus?
since the beginning. No, not him. I don't care about that 50-year-old fake dinosaur. Oh my goodness, I can't. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? He's a huge jack dude. I can literally see his. I can literally see his face. I'm just drawing a blank on it. He was in Lucha Underground too for a little while. Oh goodness, dude, he had the FTW title for a long time.
Yeah.
Brian Cage.
Yeah,
Brian Cage. That's who it is. But you're right. They haven't had like a Brock Lesnar-esque type of monster that can run through the whole roster, which he can.
If you want someone with built-in credibility, Bobby Lashley is perfect for a top card star on AEW.
I completely,
in my opinion,
I agree with that. I didn't watch AEW this week. I don't think you did either.
No.
From what I read, it wasn't great. What I did like that they did was they went into a smaller arena to do a live show, and that filled
Blood and Guts, right?
Yeah, it was like a 5,000 seat arena or something like that.
And then Jack Perry got hit in the head with a chair, and everyone's freaking out about it.
Clean headshot too, unprotected headshot. It was a monster when I saw that clip.
I might be.
I like them going to smaller venues though. People can talk all the stuff they want about it, but them filling the arena and having that environment is exactly what they need. You can't go into big arenas and have half empty seats because it looks bad. The optics look bad. Just have smaller arenas and have the crowd be rabid like an ECW crowd. That's all you need.
Well, that's been my biggest issue with them. I think I've said it before, is that they established themselves and then we're like, we're as big as WWE. We are WWE. And then years out, like a couple years, you're hot, your heat kind of tappers out, and it's like, unfortunately, you're not WWE. Like, are you bigger than Ring of Honor? Yes. Are you bigger than TNA?
Are they though? I feel like they have the same exact fan base.
That's honestly, you're not wrong either. But still, when you look at them, like, they have bigger named stars, so you could say they're a little bit higher than TNA. But regardless, like, they have always because they beat NXT, they always had this thing where they're like, we are the WWE competitor, and it's like, no, like, there is no competitor to WWE.
They beat NXT, but they didn't actually beat it. Like, they went back and forth with and WWE's third brand. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't like they
that's
consistently beat them in the ratings.
and, and that's yeah, and that's my kind of my thing is like you beat the developmental brand
Right.
and you didn't always beat their shows.
Right.
So like that's been my biggest issue with AEW is it's just like don't tell me that you guys are WWE because you're not. It's great that you have a lot of money and you can pay the wrestlers what they're worth, but you're not quite on the scale or as
Right.
big as WWE is now, and that's only
Right.
because WWE's been around for decades.
Right.
So and I think that's what's killing them is they're trying to compete so hard with WWE as opposed to just like do your own thing. Come up
Be
with your own
AEW.
stuff.
Find
Yeah,
out who AEW is and be AEW. But they don't
exactly.
know who they are. And here's the thing. They're coming up on like their 250th episode or like something. It's some big number that they're coming up with now about their weekly show, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're surpassing WCW with Nitro and all this stuff." And like, okay, the amount of shows, but they still haven't sniffed the bad ratings of WCW. Towards the end of WCW, they were still clearing 1.7s and 2.1s. They weren't in the threes like they were when they were hot, but they still tripled and quadrupled AEW's audience size on bad weeks. The weeks that WCW was running into the ground, that everybody's like, WCW is dead, they still over doubled the size of AEW's audience. What I did see, and I think I sent you the link, was it looks like AEW will have the Time Warner deal done soon. And that's like with HBO and all that stuff. That is perfect for them to get on a streaming platform like we talked about, where your catalog can be easily available for everybody, and to do premium live events because nobody's paying for pay per views. That's first of all, that's hindering you right off the rip. Like nobody's going to pay for shows anymore like that. We would rather have a streaming platform where we can watch your shows, just like WWE does. And I feel like if they get to HBO or any, like even if they just went to Hulu or something, like to do the live pay-per-views like on a streaming network will only enhance their audience, and it gives them an opportunity to get in front of more people, but you have to capitalize. Like you can't keep putting out the same product you've been putting out because it's just not good enough. Oh, you're muted.
My final thought on the whole thing is just I want to highlight the difference between WCW and AEW is the funding.
Yes.
WCW didn't have a billionaire's son
Right.
footing the bill for every show and every contract. And I'm pretty sure he's still really not making a ton of money back with how much he's spending, which is fine. Like I love what they're doing for wrestling. I'm not trying to shit on it in that way. But that's the biggest difference between AEW and WCW. WCW just didn't have the money to keep going because they didn't have the type of backing that AEW does.
They had the people to wanted like if they wanted to, but they didn't want to do it. Ted Turner didn't want to dump more money into WCW, like you're saying, like Tony Khan. Yeah, Tony Khan wants to do this, and he's just funneling money into this project, just not getting anything back because they can't produce good television. Like they can't. They're incapable of putting on a good wrestling program.
But the Time Warner deal will put money back in his pocket, which is big for him, I think. And again,
I think it helps them get in front of eyes that maybe they wouldn't have gotten in front of it.
Yeah.
And it gives people a chance. But if you go on to a streaming platform, that first pay-per-view that you have on that streaming platform has to be a banger. It has to draw the audience in so people want to watch future pay-per-views. It can't be a dud. It can't be a dud. You can't have a dud on that. Like it has to be a good one.
So this is the last thing I have about AEW. I lied before. I'm sorry, I lied to you. This is the last thing. The only other thing, and this is me directly just like talking shit about AEW, but during their inception, didn't they say they weren't going to be a gimmicky wrestling promotion and they weren't really going to rely on gimmicks?
They were going to be a more sports-based approach.
Yeah. So what the fuck is hologram then? Is that not a gimmick? You've been working on a gimmick for years, but you're not a gimmicky program. Like, let's figure out what we're doing because gimmicks are fine. It's okay to do weird stuff in wrestling. Just don't sit here and tell me you're the serious brand where it's just about the wrestling and the sports aspect and then get all geeked up about your years-long project to create this character called hologram. It's just they don't know what they're doing, and that's the biggest issue, as you'd said already.
Yeah, I couldn't agree.
They don't know which way they want to go.
They have no direction. at all. No direction. All right, Joey. Before we get off of here, we talked about this before. I would like to do a mid card power rankings of our top fives. We'll do males first this week, and I just feel like it'll be fun to do, and it's something we can keep up on. I'll post it on our Facebook and our Instagram. I will, and then we'll keep track of it after this. Like we'll bring it up next week and all that. And we still have the tournament that we have to do with the tag teams. I have that laid out. I do not have time to do it this week because I have a birthday party that I actually have to go to. I'm late, but I have to drive to the Cape. Do you want to go 5-1 or do you want to go 1-5?
Let's go 5-1.
All right. Start me with your number 5 power ranking of men's wrestlers in WWE.
I'd probably say Drew McIntyre.
Oh,
I am
like
taking
that.
championships into account.
Okay, I do like that. It makes sense because that's the litmus test right there is championships. Speaking of championships, with the number 5, I have LA Knight. I like the way he's going. I feel like we talked about this, and I think he's going to get the title, and he's building up towards that right now. I think he's going to end up bumping himself up because he's so hot, dude. Like that arena loves him no matter wherever he is, whatever city he's in. He's so over. Yeah, like he's in. And at first I hated it because I thought it was gimmicky because like he's been doing that since TNA. You know what I mean? Like dummy.
He's been doing that since he was in an NXT like workout video.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was I saw that with Triple H.
Triple H asked a question. He goes, "Yeah," and then he's like, and then Triple H is like, "All right, come on, everybody," and he goes, "Everybody!" Like it's
I agree. I forgot all about that, dude. That's so funny. Who do you have for your number 4?
Gunther.
Ooh, I like that. I do like Gunther. I had him a little higher.
See, and I had LA Knight. Like to me, LA Knight's probably just out of the top 5.
That's fair. That's very fair. Number 4, and I hope that he's going to be up a lot higher soon. My man, Braun Breaker. He's just running roughshod right now. And I feel like again he's going to get the Intercontinental title, and just him running over Sami Zayn at the end of the show, I feel like I bumped him up a little bit. You know what I mean? He looks unstoppable right now.
Yeah,
and I can't wait till he gets that title. I'm so excited about that. All right, give me your number 3, right in the middle.
Solo Sikoa.
Ooh.
He is in the middle of a huge program with the WWE champion. He recently pinned the WWE champion and has gotten over on him 2 weeks in a row. Obviously, it's not going to continue, and he's probably going to free fall over the next couple of weeks. But right now, he's positioned as one of the top heels in WWE.
I have the exact same.
Nice.
I really do. That was I don't know if we're going to agree on the rest of the list, but I had Solo because, like you said, he's gone over on the WWE champion, and he's been looking like absolutely fierce and dominant the last few weeks. And he deserves to be in the power rankings. Will he stay? Probably not. He'll get bumped down. But right now, Solo Sikoa deserves to be in the top 5. I couldn't agree more. And 3 is like a perfect spot for him.
Yeah. Yep.
I wanted to put him lower, but you can't when you go over the champ. You know?
Yeah, like he pinned him cleanly. Did he have help?
Right.
Yeah, obviously, but whatever. But he covered him and got the 3. So
he's still got the pinfall. So
yep.
It is what it is. All right. So who is your number 2?
Damian Priest.
Ooh. All right.
Since it's our first week, he's the secondary main card champion. He looked really good this week. He has an unbeaten streak, regardless of whether he's gotten help or not. I think he deserves to be number 2. With obviously number 1 is pretty obvious, I think, to you at this point. But we'll keep going.
My number 2, I have Gunther, King of the Ring, going into the world title match. I just have him up there, and I feel like he is he's a threat to the world title whenever he feels like being a threat to the world title. You know what I mean? The King of the Ring really puts it over the top for me, just because and he carries himself so well with it. And Gunther's my number 2, and I think I know who your number 1 is.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, I think after SummerSlam, I can already give you what I project to happen. I think my top five will end up having Damian drop out of the two spot, out of the top
Mhm.
five. LA Knight is five, and then Gunther two. But we'll get there when we get there. I think obviously the clear number one's Cody Rhodes.
Yep, that's what I have too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's your champ.
and
He carries the
he's
brand.
the hottest wrestler in wrestling right now. I mean, and he is and I've said it a million times. He is the action figure hero of wrestling that people tune in for. The kids tune in for. Realistically, he is that John Cena guy. I mean, he's probably number one until he loses that championship.
I agree. I completely agree. Do you have an honorable mention? Somebody just right outside the top five that you would love to put up there? You just didn't make the list this time.
Probably it's a mix of three. I think you could say LA Knight because he's been hot on the mic. You could say CM Punk because obviously that story is fire and it's CM Punk, or Seth Rollins.
Ooh,
You
I
could
like
you
that.
could I mean, I think it just has to be those three because they're all kind of like 6A B C.
I agree. I have Punk as my honorable
Yeah.
mention, and only because he hasn't stepped in a ring in a while, so I
Mhm.
have a tough time putting him in the top five. But the fact that he hasn't stepped in a ring and he's still able to be this hot, I feel like speaks to his power and like
How over he is, yeah.
he's so over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but that's just how I feel about it. I have Punk as the number five, and I feel like he's gonna bump himself up once he gets back in the ring,
Mhm.
and because he's gonna fight for titles. We all know that. Like he's
Yeah.
going for that title, and I can't wait to put him at number one. I, I can't wait. Do you have anything else that you want to hit on? I think we covered pretty much like all the big news coming out of
Yeah.
wrestling this week.
Yeah,
I
that's
think we
everything
had,
I can think of off the top of my head. I think we're pretty good.
and I think like we talked about before, I think this is going to be like our normal time slot is Saturday mornings. I like
Yeah.
the Saturday morning aspect because it gives
Yeah,
us a
I do
chance.
too.
It gives us a chance to review the week and preview big shows. Like next week, we'll have SummerSlam preview, and it's like the day of. It's awesome.
Mhm.
I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. It's a definitely nice little change. I like it.
Yeah, me too. So with that being said, I am your host, Bams. This is Joey Wrestling. For the mid card, give us a like, follow, subscribe, give us a share, be a friend, tell a friend, and shoot us a message if you have something you want us to talk about, a match or anything else, any of your wrestling thoughts. Don't come at me with your AEW bullshit, saying I disrespect them. I get those all the time. Oh yeah, you just hate AEW, blah blah blah. I've spent more on AEW merch in the last, you know what I mean, than most people have. And I want them to do well. They just suck. And just don't come at me with your BS. But other than that, be a friend, tell a friend. Tell your AEW friends to listen and try to shit on me in the messages or something. You know what I mean? As long
Make
as you
Bobby
listen.
Lashley AEW champion.
Ooh, that would be good. I like that idea a lot. Just get rid of hologram. And with that, we are out.